Cuando uno está preparando WeXchange, de la misma manera que un día empezamos, bueno, sin miedo a soñar, sin miedo a fallar, debo confesar algo. Aquí no hay muchas españolas y espero que las pocas que hay no se acuerden de esto, pero un día, haciendo un poco de Google, no vi la telenovela, vi el nombre de la telenovela que se llamaba Sin miedo a soñar. Entonces yo dije, qué bien, sin miedo a fallar, sin miedo a soñar, SMS. Me gustan los acrónimos así. Este panel, para mí es un orgullo presentarlo, es de Mujeres que mueven al mundo, M3. Así como éramos Fearless Facing Failure, F a la tercera, Mujeres que mueven al mundo, Women who move the world. Y buscamos 3 mujeres de 3 lugares muy diferentes. Ethy, que nos visita desde Israel, Claire, que nos visita desde Silicon Valley o desde Corea, porque divide su tiempo entre esos 2 lugares, y Vivianne, que nos visita desde Paraguay, una mujer fabulosa la que conocí este año, y cuando la vi le dije, tú tienes que venir a WeXchange. Entonces me da mucho placer presentar el panel. Ethy Levy, Claire Chang y Vivianne Bernardes De Cibils como moderador.
Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos y a todas. El panel va a ser en inglés, así que vamos a cambiar aquí y espero que lo puedan disfrutar. It's a pleasure for us to be here. Thank you very much for the team that's been organizing this and is taking care of every detail to make it reality. And as she mentioned before, as Susanna mentioned, we come from very different backgrounds, very different stories. And we are going to start letting you know some of our past realities.
Thank you.
Etty, Claire, can you start?
Thank you. Hello, shalom, as we say in Hebrew. My name is Ethy Levy. I come from Israel. I lived in many countries. Recently, I lived in Australia for 5 years. I work for the government for almost 20 years, active in areas of policies for innovation, international trade. My last posting in Australia was as Israel Trade Commissioner, so helping startups find clients, find investors in Australia. And a year ago, I returned to Israel and decided to create my own company, which is called Impact Innovation Israel. I am passionate about technology, any kind of technology from any sectors. I love seeing how technology is solving problems. And especially, I'm passionate about technologies that make our world a better place. That's why I'm involved in the impact side of things, any technology that can improve lives and create a better world for us all. A couple of months ago, together with Australian partner, we've established the Bridge Hub. It's an innovation hub focusing on agri and food technologies. And what we've realized is that startups really need, sometimes even more than money, they need the early adopters. And this is what we're doing. We're helping startups from Israel and from Australia, and maybe in the future from this region as well, to find the early adopters that will be ready to trial the technology and help them validate their technologies. So that's in a nutshell. The other part of my activities is I'm very involved with helping female entrepreneurs. So I sit on the board of Springboard. It's an accelerator for female entrepreneurs, especially in the growth stage. It's an accelerator out of the US, was established in 2000. And up to date, we've helped about 700 companies. And I'll tell a bit more about that later on. Thank you.
Wow. Hey, hello. How about you, Claire?
Great. Great. Good afternoon. It's really great to be here. I guess I'll also say hello and also 안녕하세요 in Korean because I'm Korean American. I immigrated to the U.S. when I was 12 years old. I was born in South Korea. And then unlike most people, I was actually very, very excited to move to the US. I was always fascinated by different cultures and wanted to see the world. So when my parents had told, my siblings and I that we were going to move to the US, I was super excited that we were going to this different place. Grew up there, went to school, and because my interest has always been in sort of international realm, I've studied international relations, and I've started doing some consulting work for cross-border relations. That led me to working with the government, helping Korean entrepreneurs expand their businesses to the US. And then that eventually led me to starting my own startup as well. So I lived through the whole startup scene back in 2008, literally living in the office with my laptop on my stomach, sleeping, eating, working in the office with other 6 co-founders. That was crazy 18 months of startup life. And then I had a little bit of fallout with the co-founder. I left and took some time off, and then started looking for what's next. And this whole acceleration business really started taking off in 2012. And I was asked to design some of the programs for the entrepreneurs that were coming from Korea to the US. And after designing a few programs, I realized, oh, this is really exciting and interesting. I love working with people. I love the entrepreneurship spirit. It combines all of my experience that I've built over the years, working cross-border relations, strategy, marketing, and that I could really help these entrepreneurs succeed. So in 2014, I established igniteXL, which is a global accelerator for early stage companies that are looking to expand globally. I also had set aside a small fund to invest in these companies. And over time, we've worked with over 200 entrepreneurs. We're very hands-on. We run very small batches, unlike the YC where they run 80 companies per batch. We run anywhere from 10 to 15 companies. And after having done this for about 4 years now, I realized that capital is absolutely critical resource. Basically, accelerator is putting together all these different resources for entrepreneurs to access so that you can build your business, right? And capital becoming the critical resource, I realized that we need to raise a fund. And so with that, then you think about, okay, well, how the heck am I going to raise a fund? How am I going to compete with all the VCs in Silicon Valley that's had, experiences years and now years? And so we have to come up with a strategy. Just like a startup, a fund investor also has to come up with an investment thesis that could differentiate yourself from others, right? So you can actually raise your money from LPs. And with that in mind, really looking through, okay, what can we be really good at that we can own and be better at any other VCs, investors? And we started looking at beauty and fashion area because of some of our graduates in our programs. And we really started seeing some interesting trends in the beauty, fashion, wellness area in terms of how the user behaviors were changing. The technology was really solving a lot of these issues in terms of engaging with consumers, how consumers were accessing information, their purchasing behavior, different channels access. Just most recently, we we're pivoting from the general tech accelerator to a very focused beauty tech accelerator and a fund. And we're now currently raising a $10 million fund, and we're going to be sourcing companies globally. And so that's why when Susanna asked me to be here, I thought, oh, wow, I would love to come to Latin America, meet entrepreneurs here, tell you about what we are doing, and so that we can, find ways to collaborate and work together. So really glad to be here.
Okay, great. And I'm Vivianne. I'm from South America, from Asunción, the middle of and the heart of South America. I grew up there. I studied. I had my first enterprise when I was 6 years old, and I said I have the entrepreneurship chip inside, I think, since I was born. And then I had my first master's at 12. And you say, master's? No, how master's? Well, I call it a master because I went to live to US to learn English. I went to an uncle's house without my parents, 40 degrees, freezing after our 40 up degrees in our country. So I just had to survive at the age of 11 or 12. And I just considered that my first big experience opening my mind. And then I continue my life in Paraguay. I just studied. And first I started working in the American Embassy, where I had the chance to be the youngest there and to learn everything about being organized and about being precise. And then I just started to work in other private companies. I started our business with my husband. We started technology business, working with commercial companies. And then we said, oh, we have to make this bigger, and we have to make it we cannot stay in where we are. We are going to be able to influence in only our country. And our country is small. So we thought, let's do something that we can influence many, many people. Because we founded our company thinking in technology for the good. I studied computer science, so it gave us a tremendous opportunity just to go on and just try to conquer the world. And that's how we started, and we just gained another country and another country and another country, and then we just made a multinational company. And then we decided, okay, great, we're having a great time here, we're going to do excellent, but we have to start helping other entrepreneurs and helping them make the same experience, but easier than the way we've done it. And that's why we're now working with entrepreneurs to help them do the same thing and go around the world too. And that we are in that position now and enjoying it very much, and knowing that coming from our countries gives us a great opportunity, as we are going to start talking now. And, well, Ethy, you told us you come from, I brought this. What is this? Just a world. It's a small world. I just wanted to put it in a paper, right? And, well, Ethy comes from Israel and Australia. And you talk that you are just concentrating in the agri-business, right? Eco-agribusiness. That's amazing. It's just the most important thing. We have to eat. I think you're working for something that's needed by every person in the world. So tell us more about the challenges and opportunities you see for women in your area.
Sure. So first of all, as you said, agriculture and food is a major issue and major need. Israel, as you mentioned, is a tiny country where about 8.5 million population, and we've been very, very active in agriculture since before the establishment of the state. So we have lots of knowledge in agriculture, and we also have lots of knowledge in technology. So combining that, we come with agricultural technologies that really improve crops and efficiency and productivity of farmers. Australia, on the other hand, is a huge country with a very developed agriculture, but not efficient enough. So we've decided to combine those two elements and to try and create this global hub for ag and food tech, helping entrepreneurs from different places. In agriculture especially, there's lots of challenges for female entrepreneurs. Actually, we've just created in Israel a Women in AgTech forum, and it's very interesting to see the different challenges that come up in those meetups. And the idea is really to create a network that can support each other. Now, the challenges that we see, and it's not specifically for AgTech, but I think even more in AgTech, is first of all, when you want to build a team. In AgTech, you need to find people from different areas. You need to create the diversity in the team, and sometimes it's challenging. There's not enough women involved in that sector, so that's something that we need to work on. And you don't have to be an agronomist. You can bring different skills to the venture. The second challenge, and again, this is a common challenge to many sectors, is raising capital. And this is where we have organizations like Springboard and other accelerator, which role is really to help the female entrepreneur to acquire the right skills to be able to pitch properly to investors and to learn which words to use, which words not to use in their pitch, which is critical. So these are the main challenges that we see, both in Israel and in Australia, and I think similar challenges all around the world.
Okay, great, thank you. And well, now we have Claire. Claire works from Korea to Silicon Valley. So, and she mentioned something very interesting. Now you're focusing on the beauty wellness area. I really think you are here in front of the best audience you can ever have for your enterprises, because as entrepreneurs, most of you, I think you are, we have no time to be spending a whole afternoon in the hairdresser and whatever, right? And I think we need efficient systems, efficient beauty and wellness systems. I think everyone here should agree, right? So now, tell us something about the challenges and opportunities you see there for women.
Well, I'm going to speak from just female entrepreneurship in general. I think if you look at Silicon Valley as one of the most progressive startup ecosystem in the world, and if you were to hear that in 2018, startups altogether raised over $96 billion in the U.S. alone. They're expecting that number is going to go up to $100 billion by the end of this year, by December. Out of that, only 2.2% were taken by female-founded startups. That's a very, very dismal number. And you're starting from the top, right, of the startup ecosystem, Silicon Valley. So you can guess elsewhere, anywhere elsewhere, even Korea, of course, even the Korea right now, with the government supporting a tremendous, pouring tremendous money into the startup ecosystem, and we're seeing more and more female entrepreneurs popping up every time I go back there. But the number compared to even Silicon Valley is going to be even lower. I don't have the specific number. So that's kind of where we're starting. And then add to that the beauty tech. And again, beauty, we're approaching this whole beauty, fashion, wellness industry with the technology solution. Really, our differentiation is we want to find solutions leveraging technology. And so when we ran our pilot batch in June of 2018 with Draper University, we immediately learned that for majority of the investors, the beauty industry or beauty tech, the understanding was that the market, they did not have the understanding that the market was big enough, or they felt like it was a niche market. But guess what? In reality, beauty industry is worth $450 billion. It's a huge market. And just some of the examples that we have, Dollar Shave Club in 2016 was sold at $1 billion to Unilever for, after 3 years, it was established. Style Nanda, a Korean fashion company, was sold to L'Oreal for $351 million in 2018. It is not a niche market business. So that's one, in terms of really educating the investors, the opportunity, the huge opportunity that exists within the beauty tech. So that's one that we immediately faced. And then the second thing that we recognized as our challenge was because the investor communities, again, going back to the TechCrunch stat, 74% of the VC firms do not have female investors. So 3/4 of the investor firms do not have female investors. What that means, what that translates to female founders, and especially in the founders in the beauty tech business, we have a harder time explaining our business value proposition to investors. And when investors don't understand your business, they're not going to invest in you. They're going to have a harder time investing in you, and they're going to have a harder time seeing the value proposition. So one of the things that we immediately recognize is to how do we build a network of investors, especially female investors, that can understand the behavior of the female users and the problems that these female founders were set out to solve in the beauty, fashion, wellness world is something that we really have to work together to solve.
Okay, great. You're right, and now we're going to talk about our land. Our land is totally different. We are just starting the ecosystems. We are not going to be specialized in one area or the other. We just have to be creating it, right? And well, talking about the challenges and opportunities, the challenge is we come from a landlocked country. So the best challenge we have is we have to unlock the landlock and unlock the mind. And the good thing, even though it may not be good, but if you see the right side, the good thing about coming from our countries is that we are like survivors. We have problems in every area and everything, right? And we just have to grow and develop skills to be able to solve everything that comes around. What does it mean? That those are all the skills that entrepreneurs need. Entrepreneurs are survivors. So it's great to be able, by living in a land, you are developing all the strategies needed. You need to improvise. You need to be able to solve that there's no electricity and that maybe there's no water for a day and they just have to get the office running anyway. And that also gives us the opportunity. Everything is to be done. Everything is to be done around our area. So embracing the technology, we just can come here, Mr. Ara, and we can erase all the divisions we have around the country, yeah? All these geographic things, we're just going to erase it. And then we find it's a bigger world. It doesn't matter where you come from. You can have all the world on your side. Okay, great. And what, Ethy, tell us, the key lessons learned along your journey. Last week when we talked, by Skype, you mentioned that you care a lot about the network. What can you tell us about that?
Sure. So you mentioned, erasing the borders, and I think that this is part of creating the network. Mm-hmm. What I've come to realize in my career, and especially with the activities that I'm involved with in Springboard and some other activities, is that the network is crucial. And that's why I acknowledge, IDB Lab for organizing this event today, because this is exactly what we need. We need to connect the entrepreneur with the investors, the entrepreneurs within themselves, listening to stories of failure, of success. This is how you learn, and this is how you improve yourself. The network is crucial. And I think that especially amongst women, we can support each other and we can help each other. In Springboard, for example, every company that comes through the program, they have to commit to give back to the program. It's a not-for-profit. And the main commitment is, once you succeeded, you did an IPO, we've got some companies that are unicorns today, they still have to come and help the new cohort. And if someone reach out to them, they have to help back. So commitment and giving back to the ecosystem is crucial. I find that having champions is very important. Having people from different areas. I have a network in Israel, again, almost all female entrepreneurs or female technologists that I know that I can approach at any time. Okay, in Israel, it's not such an issue because we have 1.6 degrees of separation. So that means that if I need to reach the prime minister or the president, more or less 2 phone calls and I get there. But it's true. This is the statistics, 1.6 degrees of separation. In addition to that, we have the chutzpah, which means kind of an arrogance, so that, we're not shy, too shy, and we can reach out whoever we want, but still having some champions around you that that, okay, you've seen a startup in an area that you're not an expert in, but you can call someone and they can give you the feedback, or being able to approach those people is really, really important. So I really recommend every entrepreneur in the room to build themselves, the right kind of people around them that can give them good insight, be frank. Okay, if something is not good, you have to be able to say that as well, and give them good guidance. Again, people that are supportive and not competing or not, a bit jealous of what you're doing, but really people that can take you to the next stage. And attending event is really important, but you need to it takes time, and you need to make the most of it. So going to conferences only if you're ready and you've checked, who's in the room, who can help your business, and do your homework before you go to conferences. I think it's really important as well. So I think we can't say it enough, but network is something that I've learned to utilize.
Great, and Claire, you mentioned the importance of the mentors.
Yeah, no, I think just reinforcing what Ethy had said about building network and having champions, I think it's absolutely true, especially as a global entrepreneur where, you may not be familiar with the network or the people that you are expanding to have a mentor or champion in the region will really significantly speed up the process we were learning. And I think one of the things that we mentioned during our talk was now it's somewhat borderless with internet access, right? We can pretty much be on a Skype call or a Zoom video call and be talking as if, face to face. And so the geographic limitation is no longer there. You can pretty much connect with me, Ethy, or Vivianne, and connect with us on a regular basis to mentor you, and that's absolutely possible. So however you do it, strongly encourage you to seek out mentors, and it doesn't have to be just one. I would actually encourage you to seek a different, mentors with different expertise, and make sure that you're really, meeting with them on a regular basis so that you can grow and learn from them. It would be really tremendous resource for you.
Okay, great. And some of the things I learned, and I didn't mention before, just in opening your world, we decided, let's go to Silicon Valley, and in 1 week we decided, and let's go there. I had 2 kids studying at the universities there, and I said, well, maybe we can go. We are computer scientists. That's Disney World for us. So we just decided, and we had to go in 1 week because my daughter had to start school there. And great. And I learned that there's no limits, as I said before. And I just wanted to pass on to you the importance of something that when you begin your business, maybe you don't realize the importance. It's the people and the culture. you start building the culture of your company, even though if you have 2 or 3 people, because what happens if you don't worry for that, and then you start growing, you don't have enough time to build the culture. And if you don't have the right culture, you cannot be able to grow. And something important too, for us women that we work with the heart, is never forget the people that fuel you. And those people that are not that may not be in your company, but those people that are going to give you enough energy to be able to continue, because this is an endurance work. This is a long time, and you win, and you're gonna have difficult moments. You may be sick, and you may need those important people in your life. Of course, something important I'd like to also tell you is to work from early on the way you take decisions. There are many methods, many things, and I learned, I think, very late that if you have the way in which, for every decision, you just take every part of your bid, then after many years, you would realize that you are the person you wanted to turn to be. So, thank you very much. Now it's time for questions. Great. We made great time. Any questions?
Hi. Well, thank you for sharing your experience and your knowledge. And well, I have a general question. Claire was mentioning that as female entrepreneurs, well, we have some challenges, and it was kind of shown that in the USA it was raised a lot of money for entrepreneurs, and only 2% was of female entrepreneurs, and of course those are really scary numbers. And I would like to know, or my question is, do you think this is, well, I know there is a big difference in female entrepreneurs, that there is less. It's obvious that there is less female entrepreneurs, because I think they didn't have all the accessibility to education, and that's why there is more male entrepreneurs now. However, this is changing, but I think this is happening because of cultural barriers, let's say. I'm from Mexico, and well, in my country, I think also here there is a macho culture, and well, women were mostly raised with, yes, you're gonna not shine as the men. So I think maybe this is a problem, that's why female entrepreneur is not booming yet. So it's a culture that maybe we have to address, or could be from something else. I don't know. I would like to hear like your.
Maybe I'll start. I think that part of being here and bringing us all together, it's part of creating and expanding that change. It's a change that is happening by bringing data from the US, where it's more or less equal society. It shows that there's still lots of bias, and the number actually that Claire mentioned, they have also a positive side to them. So I'll give you some numbers from Boston Consulting Group research, where they show that women raised much less money than men, an average of $900,000 compared to $2.2 million for male executive teams. But on the other hand, the women-led businesses, they brought much higher revenues and much higher returns for their investors. So yes, they're raising less, but maybe it's because they're asking for less as well. It's not necessarily because they didn't manage to raise as much. And this is also part of the education process of, okay, maybe we need to change a bit the way that we're presenting the numbers and the way that we're approaching investment. But as a business that are led by women, it's research. The research was done on 350 companies. They're much more profitable for investors. So we need to actually educate the investors that it's a much better investment, and they should look at teams that are either diversified or that are women-led. But definitely it's a change that is happening, and it's a cultural change.
Yeah, and if I can add two more things. One is definitely I think what Eric even talked about, investors look for really big exits, right? Big returns. And I think females, like you said, women are not supposed to shine, men are supposed to shine. We're taught to be more humble than men. I think it was in Lean In or See Jane Can Run book where the girl scored 90% in her test score, and the boy scored, I think, 70% or 80%, much lower than her. But he went out to talk about his score as if he scored 90 percentile and above. And the girl went out to talk about her score as if she scored 70% or 80%. I think naturally we're just sort of, I don't know, maybe it's in our DNA to not really go out and boast. Men does a much better job. And I think especially for early stage investments, investors really are investing in people and they want to see the confidence and that you can actually really build this a really big, potentially like this huge exit IPO company. And I think that's where women, we still need to learn how to really promote ourselves, promote, our vision. So that's one. And I think number two is the investor makeup. The makeup of the investors right now, it's predominantly male. And again, investors are going to invest in things that they understand, that they can relate to. And so if you have a makeup of 74% or higher male investors, they're more likely to connect with male founders. That's just natural. And that's where I think we're really trying to work to change that. And so most recently in Silicon Valley, the organization called allraise.org, which was founded by the top 40 female investors to really raise awareness and really address the issue in supporting female founders and female investors to build that ecosystem out. So the efforts are on the way.
I'll add to what Claire said that, in Israel as well, it's a trend now. And actually the president of the state of Israel was the one to initiate that, to ask the VCs to incorporate female as well in their teams. And now we see more and more female investors, and obviously it will bring more investment into female-led startups. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and we didn't touch upon, is the importance of role models. And I think that the more we're exposed to role models, to women that have made it, that succeeded, that had a successful business, the more it will encourage us to do that step and to try. I'll give you an example. I took my 14-year-old daughter to a makeathon that we organized in Australia. It's like a hackathon, but where you produce a prototype, and it was for people with disabilities. It was 3 days. She missed school, but it was the best experience and learning that she had. And at the end of the makeathon, she came to me and she told me, "Mom, I want to study mechatronics." I didn't even know that there was such a field of studies, but she realized that, in the teams, the most active people were from the mechatronics department. And so she saw these role models, and she was exposed to new field of activity, new areas, new STEM. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to expose as much as possible to role models in different sectors, in art, in technology, but it's really, really important.
That's great. Another question?
I just wanted to take advantage of, Ethy being here all the way from Australia/Israel. Given that, you mentioned networking many times, I think we've seen that also mentorship is important, but beyond mentorship, sponsorship that goes kind of even further. So do you have any tips for people who want to connect with sponsorship programs such as Springboard or others that could be useful tools for a lot of the female entrepreneurs in the room? And one of the things that we've seen from the IDB Lab in supporting the ecosystem is the need to have this global exposure quickly as early as possible, not to think too local. So connecting with those global sponsorship programs and the like, I think it could be useful tools. So any tools or tips would be great.
Sure. Thanks, Irene. Yeah, definitely. I think that it's really, really important to find the right program for you, for whatever venture you have. Because one could be good for a certain stage of company, one could be good for a certain sector, and it's really important to do the homework, because sometimes you apply to a program and you get in and you're really excited, but then it takes time, and as an entrepreneur, you don't always have that time, and maybe it's not the best fit for you. There's lots of programs out there. Many of them are not for profit, don't even take equity shares, but sometimes actually maybe one that will take equity shares but will give you more and make the most of your time is the right program for you. So I would recommend to really do your homework. I think that Startup Nation Central, it's an Israeli not-for-profit, did a scanning of all the different incubators, accelerators around the world, and for each one of them they mentioned, you know, the program, if they focus on a specific area, you know, how long is the program, do you have to be there? Some of the programs you don't have to physically be there. You can do it remotely. So it's really, really important to do your homework and see what do you want to achieve from the program, and then find the right fit for you. Springboard, for example, it's for companies in growth stage that are looking at expanding into the US. Okay, their network is especially strong in the US. And this is what they bring. They teach you how to pitch to American investor, which is totally different from how you pitch to Australian investors, and even different from how you pitch to Israeli investors. So it's really, really focused on something specific, growth stage, global expansion, US market. But if this is not what you're looking for, you need to find the right program and right sponsorship for you. There's also lots of multinational companies like Intel, Cisco, Microsoft that have their programs as well. Maybe that's the right fit. Just, you know, it's there, it's on the web, do your search and find the right fit for you. Okay, great.
Last question.
So my question goes in the sense of the traditional mentorship, mentoree roles go like maybe an investor and a CEO, but it's usually a CEO. At least in my case, I have been afraid to reach out to investors to mentor me as a CPO. So my question goes in the sense, how can we overcome this barrier? Because even sometimes I get the sense that investors are willing to give their advice to the company through the CEO, but not really to invest through another role. So maybe the CEO cannot be there, and you want to go as a founder, but not, you know where I'm going. So what do you think about this?
How about you, Claire, that you talk about the mentors?
So it's a question, as a CTO, can you approach an investor for mentorship?
Yeah, like we want to, CPO, CTO, CMO, whatever other role, but it's not really CEO. Like how do you...
Right. I mean, I think if the investor, again, I think it's really doing your homework of why would you want that particular investor to mentor you? Is it because that investor has some technical background that is aligned with what you are working on? He has a lot of exposures, network. That's why you want to work with that investors as a mentor. Just remember, though, investors, again, they vary. But you know, they're reviewing, business plans. I think on average 2,000 plus, right? And so, and then plus they sit on probably multiple boards. They have to really manage their portfolio of companies. So they are. And many of them are seen very arrogant, and they are too, but at the end of the day, it's really the time issue. So I would say looking for mentors through investors is probably not your best bet, but if you could find one, great, because of some alignment, because of your some sort of connection, that's great. But I would say that's probably not the best area to look for mentorship.
Okay, so
Unless you have a very specific reason why you want that particular investor to be your mentor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll add as well that mentorship is very personal.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't have the right connection, right chemistry with the person, then it's not going to work. And it doesn't really matter the title. It doesn't matter if you're CTO, CMO. You're coming as, your own person. You're coming to that mentor, if he's an investor or any other role, and you're asking for his advice and his support. So it's really, I would take away the titles and just focus on the person and see, what he can bring to you and maybe what you can bring to him. And you need to be conscious of the time, so to be really focused and efficient with your time with the mentor.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And don't forget, if you want to move the world, forget the limits and go for it. Thank you very much.
Excelente.